Be honest. How much stuff is actually under your bathroom sink? Not just what you use every day, but everything. The half-used bottles, the products you tried and didn't love, the backup of things you already have. It all adds up pretty quickly. And most of it is plastic. Welcome to Sustainable in the Suburbs, a podcast for the eco-curious who want to live a greener life and are looking for a place to start. I'm your host, Sarah Robertson Barnes, a soccer mom with a station wagon and a passion for sustainable living. Each week, I'll bring you practical tips and honest conversations to help you waste less, save money, and make small, doable shifts that actually fit your real life. Because sustainable living doesn't have to be perfect to matter, and you don't have to do it all to make a difference. Hello, and welcome back to Sustainable in the Suburbs, the podcast where we start where we are, use what we have, and live a little greener, one small step at a time. My name is Sarah, and I'm looking forward to chatting with you today. Before we get to the episode, I have a quick announcement. Starting in May, this show will be going bi-weekly until the fall. This is pretty much a one-woman operation, and like I'm always saying here on the show, things have to be sustainable for you to really work. I love the show and I want to keep doing it, but life happens and we adjust. So for the next few months, new episodes will be coming out on the second and fourth Tuesday of each month, and maybe the odd bonus episode here and there as well. So please follow the show wherever you get your podcast to make sure that you get each new episode when they come out. You can also leave a quick rating or a review, or click the support the show link in the show notes. So now let's get to the episode. Most of us spend a fair amount of time in our bathrooms every day, but it's not really time where we're slowing down and thinking things through. It's where we're getting ready in the morning, already thinking about the day ahead. It's where we're trying to get out the door or get everyone else through their routines or wind things down at night. There are a lot of small decisions happening in quick succession. What to use, what we're out of, what needs replacing, and most of that happens on autopilot. And because of that, the bathroom becomes one of those spaces where patterns build up without us really stopping to look at them. This is where we use the same things every day. Toothpaste, soap, deodorant, toilet paper, these are our daily habits, so it makes sense that we're just constantly replacing them. We run out, we pick it up again, and it just keeps going on in the background. But it's not just the things we use, it's also what we bring into this space that we don't end up using. Personal care products have a way of multiplying in the background. You try something new, or you pick something up because it promises better skin or better hair or a faster routine, and sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't. And when it doesn't, it ends up under the sink, or in a drawer, or at the back of a cabinet. Half-used bottles of products you forgot you had, backup of things you already had. It builds slowly, but it builds. So this ends up being one of those areas in our homes where two things are happening at the same time. We are constantly buying the same everyday items on repeat that don't feel like a lot in the moment, but they do add up over time. And we're also holding on to things that we've already spent money on, but aren't actually using. And then there's the money piece, the things we're buying again and again and again and again, and the things that we already paid for that are just sitting there. And then, of course, the space. The bathroom is a small room, and it doesn't take much for it to feel full. And then there's the mental load of it, keeping track of what you're out of, deciding what to replace, organizing what you already have, figuring out what actually works for you and what doesn't, all while you're constantly batting away marketing. It's a lot of small decisions in a space that's supposed to feel pretty straightforward. And lately, with the cost of everyday items continuing to climb, those small purchases are starting to feel a lot more noticeable. So today, I want to take a closer look at what's actually going on in this space and where we might be able to shift things a little bit. Not by replacing everything with a quote-unquote sustainable swap or trying to create some ideal version of a low-waste bathroom, but by slowing down, using what we already have, and getting a bit more intentional about what we're bringing in and considering what we actually need. And I just want to say this up front, you do not need to start making everything from scratch to do this. There are a lot of DIY recipes out there. Trust me, I've been down that rabbit hole, been there, done that. And if that's something you enjoy, that's great, but it's not a requirement. Like I said, I went through that phase where I was making everything myself, and it just left me burnt out and smelling like vinegar. So this can be simple. It can be gradual. It can be about making a few thoughtful changes and then just leaving the rest alone. So for me, a lot of this has been about paying attention and noticing what I actually use every day, what I kept buying over and over, and also what's just sitting there. So once we start looking at those patterns, then things will start to shift on their own. So let's walk through the bathroom together, look at where these patterns show up and what's actually worth changing. And I want to start by taking a look under the sink because that's usually where a lot of this stuff is hiding. So before we go any further, I want you to do something. Go and open the cupboard under your bathroom sink. Or if you can't right now, just picture it. What's actually in there? Because for most of us, it's a lot. Like I said, we've got half-used bottles, things that we tried and didn't love, backups of things we already had. I'm really guilty of thinking that we need something and then buying it again. And then it turns out I already had 2 bottles of the thing. So it doesn't take long for that space to fill up. And because it's behind a cabinet door, it's easy to just keep adding to it without really looking at it. But when you do look at it all at once, that's a bit of an aha moment. Not just because of how much is there, but also because what it is. It's a lot of plastic. We got shampoo bottles, conditioner bottles, toothpaste tubes, deodorant sticks, multi-material pumps and caps and packaging. Almost everything in that space is made of plastic or comes in plastic or both. And not the quote-unquote recyclable kind of plastic either. These are mixed materials, soft plastics, pumps and tubes that aren't accepted in most recycling programs or can't actually be processed. I've seen estimates that the average bathroom produces about 30 kilograms or almost 70 pounds of plastic waste per household per year, which is about 64% of a home's annual plastic waste, so more than the kitchen. And when you actually see all of that sitting under your sink, that makes sense. I think about that line I read years ago that every toothbrush you have ever used still exists somewhere and will for centuries. And that's true for most of what we're using in this space. They don't disappear. We just keep replacing them. So before we talk about changing anything, the most useful place to start is with what you already have, because chances are you have more than you think, and that's a good thing. There's no need to rush out and buy a whole new set of better eco products or try to swap out everything at once. Using what you already have and finishing things before replacing them is the most sustainable thing you can do. And while you're doing that, you've given yourself some time to look into what might actually make sense for you when that thing does run out. Maybe that's a refill option if you have access to a refill store locally. Maybe it's something made by a local maker. Maybe it's a smaller eco brand, something that just lasts longer. Maybe you don't need the thing at all, but you have some time to figure that out. If there's something that you do want to change right away, that's okay too. A lot of people feel that way about things like toothbrushes or lotions, things like that. So if you do have any unopened and non-expired items at home, those can often be donated to local shelters where they'll actually be used. All we're doing at this phase is looking at our space a little more closely. What do we already have? What do we reach for every day? And what do we keep buying automatically without noticing? And once we do that, it's a lot easier to see where making some shifts makes sense. So that's what we're going to do next. So let's start with the one thing that needs constant replacing: toilet paper. It's one of those things that seems to always be on the shopping list. We don't really think about it. We just notice we're getting low and then we go pick up more. It's part of the shopping routine. And obviously, it's essential. Yes, you can still use toilet paper. We are not getting rid of toilet paper on this good day. But it is one of those repeat purchases that adds up, both in terms of cost and in terms of resources. Lest we forget the great rush on toilet paper in March of 2020. Now, on average, a family of 4 goes through about 30 rolls a month, which is 7 or 8 rolls a week. And per person, that's about 85 rolls per year. So when you zoom out from that, it starts to feel like a lot. I collect our toilet paper rolls in a big basket to use in various ways. So when you do see them all in one place in a big pile, these numbers feel accurate. I went into more detail on household paper back on the paper towels episode, but in terms of resources, it's estimated that approximately 27,000 trees are cut down every day just to produce toilet paper. And then it gets bleached and wrapped in plastic and shipped all over. But like I said, we are not quitting toilet paper. So the next time it goes on your shopping list, there are a few different ways to approach it. There are a few different and affordable options out there. For a while, we were ordering plastic-free toilet paper from an office supply store, and it's made from 100% recycled content, comes in a cardboard box, and each roll was wrapped in just plain white tissue paper. And there are other eco-friendly brands that do this as well, and their tissue paper is really fun and can be reused for cards and gift wrapping. Now I can find a plastic-free toilet paper option that's completely wrapped in paper at the grocery store. And that brand also makes paper towels and facial tissue as well from 100% recycled content. Another option you'll come across is tree-free toilet paper, which is made from bamboo, a much faster growing resource than trees. Now, as I always say, it's only single use if you use it once. So what about all those rolls and the tissue paper? So as I mentioned, I save all of our rolls in a big basket and then I use them in various ways. They make great drawer organizers. So I have all of our reused Ziploc bags and beeswax wraps rolled up inside them by size. And they're also really great for corralling electric cords like your hairdryer and things like that in a drawer. I also use them for seedling pots and compost browns. They're great for crafts too, as is the tissue paper, but I typically just put that tissue in my compost bin as well. If you do end up getting toilet paper in a plastic bag, just reuse the bag as a trash bag so that you get at least one more use out of it before it goes to landfill. Another way to approach this is by reducing how much toilet paper you're using without changing things too drastically. A bidet attachment for your toilet is one of the easiest ways to do that. We have one in every bathroom now, and it's one of those things that once you get used to it, it's hard to go back. Other family members have ended up getting one too, and it's very noticeable when you're traveling and don't have it. There are other options out there like family cloth, which is essentially reusable cloths instead of toilet paper. But even though we cloth diapered, I was not able to get the family on board with trying this. So whatever your comfort level is here, toilet paper is one of those everyday things that's constantly moving through your home, which makes it a great place for a small shift that can really make a big difference. If we take a look around our sink or our shower, we usually see more than a few plastic bottles. Hand soap, body wash, sometimes multiple versions of each, and most of what's inside those bottles is just water. Liquid soap is essentially buying water packaged in plastic and then having to pay to have that water shipped, which adds weight and fuel to the whole process. And a lot of these formulas are bulked up with fillers and synthetic fragrances and ingredients that are more for texture and shelf life than anything else. Because it's liquid, it gets used up quickly. Well, it's meant to. You pump it out, it feels light, feels like you need more. Before you know it, you're replacing it again. And if you have kids, you know that they use way too much soap every time. And so that cycle of finishing it and replacing it just keeps going. Switching to bar soap changes that pretty quickly. Bar soap lasts far longer. It's not packaged in the same way, if at all, and it really simplifies things. You have fewer bottles, fewer decisions, and less space to take up. There are a few ways to make bar soap last as long as possible, and I'm talking months here. I was always taught to cut a bar of soap in half and then let them cure for a few weeks out of a package before using them. A well-draining soap dish is a must, and for the shower, I love using a knitted cotton soap saver bag. This lets the soap drain between showers, keeps it out of the spray of the shower, and it also doubles as a plastic-free loofah. We also just pop the little ends of used soap bars right into our soap saver bag, so nothing goes to waste. This one is an easy small shift, but it's one you really notice. You're not replacing soap as often. You're not dealing with the same amount of packaging. It just feels easier. It's also a really nice opportunity to support local makers. There are lots of small businesses making beautiful, high-quality bar soaps, and it's pretty easy to find at local shops or farmers markets. Then once bar soaps are part of your routine, you'll notice that other products come in bar form as well, like dish soap, shampoo, conditioner, and even lotion. So let's talk about those next. So now picture your shower for a moment. How many products are actually in there? Probably a shampoo, conditioner, maybe a second shampoo, a deep conditioning treatment, maybe something for frizz, something for volume. It adds up without really trying. it's very easy for that space to fill up over time. And a lot of that comes down to how these products are sold to us: more steps, more products, more specialized solutions for every possible hair concern, real or imagined. That was definitely me. And when I decided that we are going zero waste, I started using up what I already had and finishing things while not buying anything new and thinking about how I could simplify things. So now our setup is pretty simple. We share a shampoo bar. I use a daily conditioner that I refill into an aluminum pump bottle because glass in the shower is no bueno. And I use a weekly deep conditioner that comes in a little aluminum tin. So we're still using the soap saver bag, like I mentioned, and we have a natural loofah instead of a plastic puff sponge thing. And when I say we, I mean my husband and I. The kids just have a shampoo bar and a soap saver bag, and that's it. And that's what works for us. Now, of course, hair is very personal. We have different types, different textures, different needs. So use what's best for you. There are more and more sustainable options out there for every hair type, and you might have to take some time figuring out what those are. Using what you have first gives you the space to do that. However, it did take me a while to figure out what worked for me. I had to kiss a few frogs with shampoo bars, and I have walked around smelling like apple cider vinegar too. So if you have a shampoo bar and it doesn't work for you, it's still just soap. It can go in the soap saver bag, get used up in the shower, and nothing's wasted. But in general, switching to one or two sustainable alternatives here will simplify your routine. You end up with fewer products, you're replacing things left often, buying fewer things, and your routine just feels that little bit lighter. All right, let's brush our teeth. This is one of those things we do every single day, multiple times a day, usually without thinking about it too much. It's just part of our daily rhythm. But almost all of it is plastic. Toothbrushes, floss, toothpaste tubes, it adds up really quickly. Every toothbrush you have ever used still exists somewhere. Floss is pretty much single use, and toothpaste tubes are one of those things that are really tricky to recycle, if you can at all. So this is another one of those daily things where even making one change can start to really add up. There are now so many options out there: bamboo toothbrushes, different types of brush systems, alternative kinds of floss, different formats for toothpaste. So the one thing that we did first was bamboo toothbrushes. We've used bamboo toothbrushes for years, and that was a really easy swap for us. They're now pretty widely available and relatively inexpensive. Now, we do use the ones with the nylon bristles because I found the plant-based ones wore down way too quickly. So now I just snap the head off, toss the bit with the bristles, and compost the handle. And right now I'm actually reusing some of them for plant markers with my seedlings. For toothpaste, we've tried everything. About 10 years or so ago, I made tooth powder, which everyone hated. Then we tried toothpaste that comes in a glass jar, which was fine, but not the best for the kids who were small at the time. Then a natural food store near us had a brand that came in a metal tube, but it was quite expensive. So I've also tried tooth tabs, which are fine, but nobody else liked them. And we used a brand of toothpaste and mouthwash in refill that we really liked, but now it's no longer available. And I also didn't love that many of these were fluoride free. So long story short, we're back to Tom's, and I saved the tubes to drop off at a TerraCycle bin at a local shop. All of this to say your dental health comes first, so please focus on that before the waste. Just use what works for you. Keep using what your dentist recommends. Keep what feels right for your routine, and then look for ways to make that small shift where you can. Then there are the grooming products that really have to earn their spot. Disposable razors are what most of us are used to, but in reality, they are not cheap, and they don't last very long, and they get tossed and replaced over and over again. So a safety razor is a really good longer-term option here. It's one of those things that you buy once for life, and then you're just replacing the blades, which are small and inexpensive and can be recycled with a little care. So they do take some getting used to. Safety is a bit of a misnomer, but it's a very different experience once you do. My husband and I now basically just share a razor, although honestly, I pretty much just stopped shaving altogether. A little lazy environmentalism. Shaving cream is another thing that can also get expensive. And women's cost more. Thank you, pink tax. But in reality, a bar of soap works just fine. Deodorant is another interesting one. My husband uses a refillable eco brand that works really well for him. And I was using that for many years as well. And at this point, I think I've tried, honestly, every eco deodorant I could get my hands on. But at this stage of my perimenopausal life, it's just not working for me. So I'm back on the Lady Speed Stick. And that's what I mean when I say things just have to work for you. Your body changes, your needs change, and sometimes what worked at one point just doesn't anymore. So you adjust. Makeup is another place where things have naturally simplified for me over time. I just use less of it now. My routine is pretty pared down, and it's not even something I do every day anymore. When I do buy makeup, I tend to look for brands that align a bit more with what I'm trying to do. And there's some great Canadian options like Elate Cosmetics and Cheekbone Beauty that I really like. For all of this, the razors, deodorant, makeup, the packaging is almost always plastic and multi-material, and it's just not something that's accepted in regular recycling. A lot of drugstores and major makeup retailers now have take-back bins for beauty packaging, which is a really easy thing to take advantage of if you have access to one. So this is one of those areas where there isn't one clear answer. And because these things can be expensive, it's more about just finding what works for you and paying attention to what you're actually using or don't want to use anymore and adjusting that as you change over time. And then there's all the small stuff, the cotton rounds and makeup wipes and Q-tips and so many little bits and pieces that end up in the garbage can every day. And the things don't seem like they're a big deal because they're small or they're inexpensive, or you just grab them without really thinking about it. And some of them can be composted, but we're in the bathroom, so we just end up tossing them in the garbage. So for me, cotton rounds were one of the first things that I noticed. It was something that I was going through constantly, and then I would leave them on the counter so that I would take them down to the compost bin, and that's how I realized how often I was going through them. So I switched to reusable ones made from flannel, and that's it. Now I just keep a little mesh produce bag on the back of my bathroom door, throw the rounds in there when I'm done with them, and toss them in my laundry bin every week. Same routine, just not something I had to keep replacing. All of these things have a reusable option, and I will link them all for you in the blog post that goes with this episode, and you can find that in the show notes. All these small things do add up. We just have to decide if they add up to more money and trash, or if we want to shift them the other way. So if you're listening to this and you're wondering where to start, your one small shift is this. Take that inventory of what you already have. Look under your sink and in your shower and in your drawers and make a list. See what's there. What are you actually using? And what are you buying on repeat without really noticing? Because chances are you have more than you think, and that's a really good place to start. Okay, so that's it for this week. I've pulled everything from this episode into a blog post as well. So if you prefer to see it all laid out like that, or you're looking for some of the specific swaps that I wholeheartedly recommend, you can find them there, and that is linked for you in the show notes. And of course, I have lots more going on for you with so many sustainable living topics over at sustainableinthesuburbs.com/blog. If you enjoyed this episode, I'd love it if you shared it on social media, and you can leave a comment on it on the Facebook page. Thanks so much for being here today. Until next time, start where you are, use what you have, and live a little greener. Thanks for tuning in to Sustainable in the Suburbs. Every small step adds up, and I'm so glad we're doing this together. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to follow the show, share it with a friend, and leave a review wherever you get your podcasts. You can find me at sustainableinthesuburbs.com or at Sarah Robertson Barnes on all the things. Until next time, start where you are, use what you have, and live a little greener.
This podcast is produced, mixed, and edited by Cardinal Studio. For more information about how to start your own podcast, please visit www.cardinalstudio.co or email Mike at mike@cardinalstudio.co. You can also find the details in the show notes.